it's a really great place, and I think it's, if you get out the map of Alberta and you say, where are the fewest number of frost-free days, they come over here. So you can go to the agriculture department and get these maps. And then if you get another map that says, where are the worst soil conditions in Alberta, they're right here too. And so those two things make this really, really poor agricultural land, but it's a really beautiful place, and it's probably why even when people were marginal, they selected this place, even though they knew they couldn't really make a good living here. It was really a great place to live. And so my thought is I want to keep it in that form, but I also believe that the pressures for development are relentless, and this will be developed by somebody at some time. And so if you can get in front of that and do it in a way that is sort of sensitive to maintaining the place but still develop it, that's the best of the worlds that you can hope to live in. So, I think it's hard to slice it. I mean, the piece of land that we're planning on developing is a 700-acre piece that was one of the Morleyville lots. And so the Morleyville settlement was sort of organized before Alberta was surveyed, and it followed the seigneurial system of organization. So there were these long strips like they have in Quebec that went down to the river. And then when the highway went through, they chopped off the front of our river access. So our lot doesn't go to the river anymore, but it used to go to the river. And so that's about a 670-acre piece. And then sort of adjacent to it, we have another, 2,000 or 2,500 acres of land up here. And we could have developed that land into 40-acre pieces, which we didn't think made sense. So we worked with the MD to be able to take what could have been done there and move it to the 700-acre piece. And we'll put a conservation easement on the other part so that it won't be developed in the future, and the development will occur over on the 700-acre piece. There's a guy named Hector that came through as part of the Palliser expedition, and if you read his description of coming through here, it sounds like he was standing on the top of the hill there when he was describing what the valley looked like and all those things. So I'm pretty sure he went through there, really close to it, if not there. And then I think Coleman's had it, and then I don't know who had it after that. I think Buckley might have had it for a while.
I think so.
So I started getting involved in the project in 2006 when I graduated from engineering school, and we went through the sort of original hearing process and getting our plan approved. And then I went back to architecture school, so I've been a little bit out of the loop for the past couple of years. But
where'd you go to school?
New York City, at Columbia University. So I graduated about a year ago, and I've started getting back into it, and I'm working in a small architecture firm in Brooklyn now, and we're focusing on developing some concepts for some of the houses out at Carraig Ridge. So it's starting to move along. It's really important that this area has been a big part of my life as well. We've been coming out here every weekend when we were kids, so I don't want to see it change from what it is, and I think that as we see Calgary develop and the areas around Calgary develop, we just want to make sure that we do it in a very sensitive way to the landscape, and that people get to enjoy this area and the views and the open spaces in the future. Really considering what you need in a house, a minimal design that works with the landscape and is about enjoying the landscape rather than building a big house that could exist anywhere, that could exist in Calgary or could exist in the suburbs of Calgary. It's about making something that's really meant to be on site, that's really about enjoying what that landscape has to offer, as opposed to building a sort of cookie cutter house that is how a lot of these things end up turning out, I think. A couple times. I was back in April and then back in June, and now I'm back again, and hopefully a few more times as the summer comes to a close and we get into fall, just to keep going on the design of some of these things. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, it's wonderful for you, isn't it, Ian, to have a member of the family too. Keeping it all in the family is nice.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's sort of like a continuum through our family and so on. So the people we've had working on Carraig Ridge we started with a fellow named Randall Arndt, and he's sort of he's supposed to be an expert in conservation planning, so he helps you try and lay things out in a way that makes the minimal disruption. He's done that all over the world and published a bunch of books and things. And then we had a guy named Christopher Alexander who wrote a book called Pattern Language, and it's a book on, primarily how do you feel comfortable in a place, what makes you feel comfortable about it. And so, we went into that in a fair degree of granularity, and so we brought him over and talked to him for a while, and he had some ideas, and then we have had two architects work with us, one named Jim Cutler, who his main claim to fame is he built Bill Gates' house, so he's at the top of the architecture game in some ways, and he designed a little house which we're building now. And then we had another firm called Tom Kundig, and he designed another house that we haven't started building yet, but we got a design for 2 or 3 houses Kate's working on. As you go along in something like, and it was always our plan that we kind of have the view that if you try and do things too quickly, often you make mistakes that are not recoverable. And so we're trying to do this, and when we got the original approval, we said it was going to take 20 years to build all the houses that we've got, and it'll probably take at least 20 years because we're slower than where we thought we were going to be. But you change your mind, you should go. So we've had these people here, we listen to them, and some of them, they've all got good things to say, but they've all got things that they say that we don't think make sense. So we're trying to make our own, we're trying to have our own vision of what it's like, but have that vision informed by people who have a lot of competence and a lot to contribute. And we think we're getting closer with each step to what we want.
Is there a particular model that you have seen someplace that has inspired you, or it's just...
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we think this is a unique place, and it needs a unique solution and a unique, approach. And that's what we're trying to develop. We're in the wilderness. We're like, the people of David Thompson. We're trying to explore and figure out what to do.
That's a good way to put it, isn't it?
Trying to leave it better than we found it. So I don't know what that means, but when every decision you make, if you think of it in those terms, I'm trying to leave it better than I found it, then I think that causes you to act in a certain way. And that's the way I want to be, if I can remember it.
Thank you.